A host of African short films were chosen to screen at the Africa On-Screen Film Festival, which took place this past weekend in Melbourne, Australia, as part of the Melbourne Fringe Festival. Now, we're fortunate enough to have the co-founder and festival director of the Africa On-Screen Film Festival, Tanya Hodza, on the line with us today to tell us about the creative venture. Tanya, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am fantastic. I'm really happy to be here today.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be talking to you. Don't you want to tell us more about the Africa On-Screen Film Festival and why it was so important for you to be creating this project?
Okay, so Africa On-Screen Film Festival basically was birthed out of two key elements. In the Melbourne community, we have such a large growing population of Africans and not so much a platform for us to kind of see films that represent us, where we're involved, or our stories, and that's not accessible being on the other side of the world. And the second thing is also for us to share our stories as Africans, by Africans, through the lens of Africans, to the wider Melbourne community and also the wider Australian community here.
Well, that's absolutely important. I agree with you so much. Now, one of the short films that you screened at the festival is called White Collar Black, which stars Dudley O'Shaughnessy and directed by Joseph A. Adesunle. Now, the African and European collaboration short film is about a young London photographer who's been estranged from his Senegalese father for many years. After he receives word that his father died, he has to travel back to Senegal, where he rediscovers his culture. Let's take a look at the trailer.
How does it feel when you're taking pictures?
It's like time slows down almost at a nanosecond.
Your dad is also a photographer.
The doctor has just left. Your father has died.
You need to go.
Wow. Tanya, do you think that this short film resonates with Africans who left their homeland countries behind to build a new life in the Western world? And why do you think so?
Definitely, definitely. I think a key theme in that movie is more the third culture generation that's coming up as people move away from Africa and settle in UK, settle in Australia, and the children who are born there sort of struggle with that identity issue of are they identifying as locals of the foreign country they're in, or the culture that's back home. And the journey that this particular young man takes to go back to Senegal after the passing of his father really highlights on some of the key issues on, language being lost because we're so far away from home, just not understanding culture of how things are done back home as well in Africa. So it was really, I guess, a key story for us to communicate to the Australian audience and also us Africans in the diaspora to connect with a little bit of home and the importance of us to keep that history and keep that culture with us.
It's wonderful that you're sharing these stories, and it's such an important message for the world to hear, especially the Western world, that so many, not only Africans, but people around the world have left a culture behind that maybe they will never know. So it's really, really important. Thank you, Tanya, for sharing these stories with us.
No problems at all.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, there you have it. So many important stories being shared on Expresso right here on the Africa Channel. And to all of our Africa Channel viewers, connect with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and even on Instagram. And tell us about your favorite African films. Don't forget to use that hashtag Expresso Show.